Hello, and welcome to our show for the love of animals. We're so glad you joined us today. We have a great show for you on grooming your pet. I'm Darleen Pigford.
And I'm Greg Bauer, and we'd like to tell you about a couple of upcoming shows. First of all, Anita Moore from the McCracken County Public Library is going to talk about pets in literature, and we think you'll find that interesting. And then Rhoda Bolton, who did the bird show with us, is going to come back and talk about small animal rescue, little lizards and rabbits and hamsters and gerbils, and I think you'll find that one very interesting also, so keep an eye out for those.
Those sound like great upcoming shows. Well, Greg, we have a great topic today, grooming your pet, and would you please introduce our guest?
I'll be happy to, Darlene. We're happy to have with us Bethany McHaney from Pets and Claws in Metropolis. And later, if you'd like some contact information about her, you can call us at 270-443-8330. We'd like to welcome you back, Bethany, and thank you for taking time out from your busy schedule. And we'd like to begin a little bit by asking you about your fur family that you have at home.
And explain that the little fur family there belongs to us.
Yes.
That's our Wicket.
That our viewers have seen before.
Right.
Well, I guess mine consists of two Pomeranians, Sassy and Sky Blue. And I have two yellow labs, Belle and Blake. And then I have a cat named Annabelle.
Okay.
And a horse.
Oh, really?
Yes. And two turtles. They're not furry, but I do have two turtles.
Oh, my word.
So
You have a zoo of your own,
yes.
don't you?
And two children, so.
And two, oh, well, you do have a zoo of your
Yes.
own.
They all count as the fur family.
Yes.
Well, now, Bethany, I understand you are a certified groomer. Explain that. What is a certified groomer?
Well, I went through a training course. It took me about 6 months, and I had to do a lot of book learning as well as a lot of hands-on. You know, had to find volunteers that is going to let somebody that's never done it before chop up their animals. But yeah, it took me about 6 months to get certified. And
is this for Illinois, since you're in Metropolis?
No, it's just.
So you'd be good in any state?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. Certified groomer for what, dogs, cats?
For dogs. I'm certified for dogs.
Okay, all right, gotcha. So, well, speaking of dogs now on Wicket, what would you recommend, should we groom Wicket?
Well, Wicket would need to be groomed at least every 4 to 6 weeks. He needs to be brushed at home. Brushing is very good for their coat as well as their skin. It stimulates the oils in their skin, and that is very healthy. And it stimulates the hair growth, which that might not sound very good to you, but it is very healthy for them. Yeah. Also, on dogs like Wicket, he's got what we call the bug eyes, and you just need to make sure you keep the hair out of their eyes.
But now you wouldn't encourage me to use scissors or anything?
No,
well,
no.
Just how should I keep the hair out of Wicket's eyes?
Even just to comb it out of his eyes.
Away from,
sometimes you can even, mist it with water and comb it down.
And
that'll help in between groomings. And I know I encourage, as well as I'm sure other groomers, that, if you don't need a full haircut, just drop in and I'll cut the hair out of his eyes, because I have a special set of scissors that, I can do that with.
And you're trained to do that?
Right.
Okay.
All right.
So,
well, and one of the other things that, of course, Wicket being a little Shih Tzu, one of the characteristics is that they get a little residue around their eyes. What's something that we could do at home to help that problem?
Well, that is actually, and it's not just a Shih Tzu trait, that is, there's a lot of different dogs that do that, and that's just from their body secretions, their tears, their saliva. If he were to chew on his feet or, anywhere, then it's from bacteria in the body secretions. But at home, I would suggest just cleaning it, even with just a wet wash rag, a warm wet wash rag. A toothbrush does really well.
Oh, I never thought of that.
Yeah, soft toothbrush, especially if it starts getting hard, because a lot of times it'll get hard.
Yes.
And if you leave it too long with it being hard, then it'll get sores underneath it.
Oh, okay.
But as far as the discoloration, they do have products on the market that are designed to help alleviate that problem.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've heard about putting Vaseline underneath their eyes to soften that matting. Would you recommend that?
Yeah, that works well on softening it up if it gets hard, but I would recommend in the first place to try to, to use
Don't
a
wait that
comb
late.
and keep it from matting up.
Okay, all right. I see some tools in front here. What at home would you recommend between groomings? How should I brush Wicked, and what should I do?
Okay, well, brushing is relatively simple, and he just kind of wants to go back to mom and dad right now. But I use a slicker brush, and it's got the wire bristles, and like if you were to push on it very hard, it's going to hurt you.
Okay.
But you don't push very hard, but you usually generally want to start at the back end.
Okay.
Because most dogs, this is where they like to be pet, is right here.
Okay.
And if you have a problem at all with brushing your animal, if you do it where it feels good, then they're going to like it a lot more. So you start there.
I noticed my cats like that too. Okay.
So you start where they like it, and then you always go with the fur.
Okay.
If you start going backwards, you're
It
going to get
hurts.
an unhappy animal.
Okay.
So you always want to, go with the fur.
Okay.
Other than that,
Excellent
it's
idea.
relatively simple, and he's just wanting to come back to you.
The brushing will also help with matting, hair matting.
Yes. If see, right now his hair is really short, but a Shih Tzu's hair tends to get really long,
Yes. Mhm.
and if you don't brush it, it will mat up, and then you'd have to get them shaved, and sometimes that has to be almost bald.
Right.
So
Yeah, I notice his tail tangles a lot, so
Yes.
I really have to. In fact, we need to brush him more, but it is important, if you can, to brush him 2 or 3 times a week, if not every day,
Right.
if at all possible, because that's just, it like you said, it's just good for their health, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, Wicket, we'll try to do a better job with you. You're a beautiful doggy, but we'll try to make you even more beautiful. Well, those are excellent ideas and excellent tips, but let's take a break right now, and let's go to a happy tale about Sassy, which is Bethany's beloved Pomeranian.
Hi, my name is Sassy, and I am a 12-year-old Pomeranian. 12 years ago, I was housed at Project Hope, and I didn't know what was going to become of me. One day, Bethany came to the shelter to do some volunteer work, and we saw each other. It was love at first sight. I was so excited when Bethany took me home, and I knew our bond was meant to be. I love to play and have a wonderful forever home. Thank you, Bethany.
Welcome back to our show on grooming. We'd like to thank our little friend Wicket for participating in the demonstration. And we're back with Bethany McHaney, who also does some volunteer work with grooming with Project Hope over in Metropolis. So we appreciate the efforts that she's given there.
Bethany, tell us about the dogs that you've groomed for Project Hope.
Well, a lot of times somebody will find a dog, that's just been gone apparently for so long.
Right.
And they're matted and dirty, and they can't, they do a lot of their own bathing, but when they're so matted
And really need a groomer.
yeah,
It's
you have
beyond.
to, you can't even bathe them like that because you don't get them clean. So that's when they call me, and I step in and I make them all pretty or handsome, and hopefully they can get adopted out.
Yeah. And we really want to thank you for what you've done for Project Hope No Kill Humane Society, because like you said, the work that you do does help the animal have a better chance of adopting.
Right.
And before we get back to grooming, tell us more about Sassy.
Well, I got Sassy from Project Hope,
Uh-huh.
and she was, I call her my first child.
Okay.
Because I got her when I was 6.5 months pregnant with my actual first child.
Uh-huh.
And she captured my heart.
Oh.
And I vowed that day, after that I would never own another breed of dog. And the Labs are actually my husband's dogs, but my dogs are the Pomeranians.
Okay. So
They're just
Sassy's your
wonderful.
love.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we've got a whole bunch of tools out there on
Oh,
the
yes.
table, Bethany. Talk us through what
Yeah,
some
talk
of
us
those are
through
good for.
some of those that you use in your work as a certified groomer.
And also can be used at home. too.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
That's-
All of these can be purchased at a pet store or at the pet section of other stores. But this is my main tool that I use, and I recommend for generally all types of coats
Okay.
and for dogs and for cats. And it's called a slicker brush.
Okay.
And it's got the wire bristles, but it doesn't have the balls on the end. There are some that have the
Okay.
balls on the end.
And I noticed it's curved.
Yeah, it's just like ergonomic. That's
Okay.
just the natural way that you're gonna
I've seen
move
the
your
flat
hand.
ones.
Right.
And
right.
I think I like the curved one better than the flat ones.
They have all different sizes, from even smaller than this one to great big for the giant dogs.
Uh-huh.
But this is the main tool of the trade
Okay.
for grooming at home
Slicker
or at the
brush.
shop. Yes, it's called a slicker brush, and I recommend that anyone that has an animal has one of these because this is going to be better at getting out mats than any other brush.
Okay.
And the important thing there is not, even though they're wire bristles, as long as you don't dig in with
Right.
those bristles, you won't hurt their skin.
Right, and you don't go over, even as gentle as you're being, you don't go over the same spot a whole lot.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, because, it doesn't matter what kind of tool you're using, if you go over the same spot, it's going to irritate it.
Okay. Good
So,
point.
And then the combs here, this is a good one. It's called a greyhound comb, and it's got the wider spaced teeth right here,
Uh-huh.
and then the ones closer together. And this is like for if you wanted to get some, get on the tail, or for longer hair, or for
Okay.
more coarse hair.
Okay.
And then the thinner ones, like even on Wicket, you could use this for the ears, the
Oh,
wider
okay.
spaced teeth for the ears.
Okay.
And
Good
this
point.
for the face.
Gotcha. All right.
So these are real nice. And then this is a face comb, and it's actually got 2 rows of
okay.
teeth here.
All right.
And they're spaced closer together, and it's called a face comb. Of course, you don't have to just use it on the face, but
Right.
and you can get them with or without handles. This right here is an undercoat rake. For those famous undercoats.
What is an undercoat?
An undercoat, not all breeds have them.
Oh, okay.
But it's a shorter hair that is against the dog's skin, and it is used to protect the skin from irritants, and also
Okay.
for insulating the skin.
Okay.
And
Does
when-
Wicket have an undercoat?
No.
Okay. All right.
These
Do
are breed that
cats have
doesn't.
undercoats?
Yes,
Oh,
a lot
okay.
of cats do.
Lot-
Yes.
most cats do. Okay.
But this, you wouldn't probably use this on a cat unless it was a really long-haired cat.
Okay.
But this is wonderful for dogs. Like a Pomeranian has an undercoat. And this is wonderful because it helps pull that excess hair out. Of course, you use that along with your brush.
Okay.
And then there's 2 different types of nail clippers. This is the scissor type that I use at the shop. This is the one I'm most comfortable with.
Okay.
And then this is called the guillotine type.
All
Because
right.
you stick the nail in there and clip it off. But it just depends on what you're comfortable with. And
It's a good idea on those to probably use one with a guard on it,
yes,
so that
yes.
you don't get too deep and injure the paw.
Right, right. Because when when you make a dog's nail bleed,
Uh-huh.
it does hurt. It's about like cutting your nails too short, and
Right.
you cut down to the quick, and it'll bleed, and it won't stop. And it will eventually, but it's
Right,
hard.
right.
So that's when you get into, this is the styptic. This is styptic powder, and this is styptic gel, and this makes
Spell
it
that. Spell
styptic. Styptic.
Styptic. Right.
Yeah.
All right.
got it
Styptic. Okay.
Those
Styptic.
of us that used to shave and
Right.
are
That's what our
familiar
a
with a
styptic pencil.
Right,
It
right.
stops bleeding. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
and they, like I said, they've got the powder that you just kind of dip the nail in,
Uh-huh.
and then you've got the gel that you could just stick on the
Okay.
nail.
Okay.
And you definitely, if you're going to do your animal's nails at home, if you're going to clip them yourself, you definitely need to get a styptic of some sort.
Okay. How do you suggest you restrain an animal to clip its nails?
At home, you're not going to have all the fancy equipment and everything
That
that
you
a
have,
groomer
right.
has, right? So that is what I would suggest you do. Greg is holding Wicket, and then you would just
Right.
clip his nails, but just make them comfortable, and just make sure that they're not jerking a whole lot when you go to clip their nails, because they do that a lot. They'll be real still and all of a sudden they'll jerk. And
Well, and sometimes if an animal wants to squirm, like some cats will, and even some dogs, you can wrap them in a towel and expose their paw or whatever it is, and it helps calm them. But speaking to them in a calm voice also is very
Right.
helpful too.
yes, but you will also find that there are a lot of dogs that the more you try to restrain them, the worse they're going to be.
Okay.
So I found that a lot in my business. It's just, if we try to hold them, the tighter we hold them, the more they're
Right.
going to act up. So
Well, this is just great information. Let's take a break now and go to a story about Harry. This is one of our Forget-Me-Not sections, the story of Harry.
Harry was a cat of unknown age who was living at a shelter. Unfortunately, she was feral and did not warm up to people. No one at the shelter could do anything with Harry, and so she was confined to a windowless storage room. A volunteer at the shelter was concerned and called Lisa Williams, who agreed to take Harry and see what she could do for her. Within an hour of receiving Harry, Lisa had her in her lap and was making friends. The bond was instant, and soon Harry had a happy home with Lisa and her family. Harry loved to sleep on Lisa's pillow at night or curl up in her husband Scott's easy chair. Unfortunately, Harry died after about 2 years, but for that period of time, Harry knew love and comfort. She is greatly missed.
Isn't that an interesting story about Harry, a she? Let me explain. Harry had a very rough existence. She took refuge in the storeroom and stayed there for quite a long time. I was the volunteer that found her and thought, well, she needed an improved environment. So I gave her a radio, a nightlight, and she didn't have a name. So I called this, what we thought was a male cat, Harry. Well, after we found a home for Harry, she turned out to be a she. She liked her name so much that they couldn't change her name. They tried Harrietta. So people, you never know what little time you spend with an animal, what influence it does. That lonely cat in a storeroom really identified with her name, and I was only there 3 or 4 times, but I did name her and I did call out to her. So again, a little time goes a long way with our pets. So the story of Harry.
And we'd like to thank Lisa Williams for that Forget-Me-Not story. And
Absolutely.
Lisa has made a contribution to the Humane Society in Hopkinsville, Kentucky.
And we appreciate that,
Yes.
Scott and Lisa. And now, Greg, tell us about the poem that Pam has for us.
Well, one of our regular features, and I'll see if I can say this correctly. This is a poem by Pam Wells, written specially for the show, My Groomer, My Friend. Let's give a listen.
Our groomer, our friend. Gracie was shaggy and matted and in need of such care. She was dirty and itching with long reddish hair. Her nails were so long that she limped in the door, and her tail was so bushy it dragged on the floor. She patiently stood on the table so still as the hands of the groomer glided swiftly with skill. With soft, gentle words she said, "It's okay. Let's finish with this so you can go play." "I'm starting to see those pretty brown eyes," said Sally, the groomer, as the auburn hair flies. "Wow, look at that nose and those pretty white teeth. What a soft, silky tail and such nice, dainty feet." Gracie prances right out with her head in the air and a polka dot bow sitting proud in her hair. With a yip of delight and a wag that won't end, she licks the hand of our dear groomer friend.
We'd like to thank Pam for that wonderful poem, just especially for this show. And if you're interested in talking to Pam about having her come and do some things with humane education, you can contact her at area code 270-575-3822 or at petlicks@yahoo.com. And we'd like to again thank Pam for the work that she does in the community and also for the poems for our shows.
And her stage name is Miss Bunny, and her cohort is Scooby Sue. So she does the humane education, and we want to thank her for that original poem that she wrote, especially for our show on grooming. Well, Greg, let's get back to grooming tips.
And you know, while we've got our friend Maxwell here,
Yeah, this is Mr. Max. Mr. Max is
just going
our
back for a
baby.
minute to some of the tools. What tool would work best for this gentleman?
What? Yeah,
The
help
best-
us groom Max.
The best suggestion I have, I think the best tool would be a slicker brush.
Okay.
Because I see all that furry undercoat that's
Yes.
just dying to come out.
Yes.
And even a good professional grooming bath, we have special dryers. They're really high force dryers, and with that and a slicker brush, that would just work wonders on him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, speaking of undercoat, this is a tool that I bought, I believe, from Bed Bath & Beyond, and I didn't even know what an undercoat was, and I used it, and it said, beware and do it in an area, you know, you'd have to be careful where the hair went. Well, I said, well, I do it in my den. Mistake, mistake. I got hair all over the place. And so when you do something for the undercoat, be in an area where you can gather the hair, because I couldn't believe the hair that this got out. So
Yes.
I've just found out what an undercoat was. Any other suggestions that you would have for grooming my long-haired friend here? Particularly like his claws and his feet. You know how on a cat they get fur between their pads?
Well, very carefully, first off, because you know the claws are one of the main weapons of the cat. So I would suggest having someone hold him, and then just around the outside of the paws, just trim it. In a little circle, and then on the back of the paws. But you have to be really careful, because you don't want to clip their pads,
right.
because that's like clipping the bottom of your foot, and it would really hurt them.
Right. But it is important to groom, to brush your cat at home, just like your dog.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And also, I use a flea comb. Even though they have flea medication, I check them, and I use a flea comb to brush him or comb him, and also it'll tell me if he has fleas, or if he's had a bath, they have dead fleas, and this will get the dead fleas off.
Yes.
So, well, Mr. Maxwell, I know we're not going to groom you, so don't worry.
Bethany, a point that people often ask when they want to adopt a dog, let's say, which breed of dog is going to be easiest perhaps to maintain at home in terms of brushing and grooming? Obviously people have preferences for different breeds.
Right.
But what would be a breed that would be perhaps require less maintenance?
Well, when somebody asks me that, my first instinct is to say a Pomeranian. Of course, that's what I own and that's what I love.
You couldn't be partial, could you? No.
Not at all.
Not at all. Okay.
But this right here is like this. It's a show cut.
A show cut. Okay.
For a Pomeranian. This book is all how the AKC, requires them for the shows.
Okay.
American
But
Kennel Club.
a Pomeranian does not require much grooming. They do not need their hair cut at all, except on their back ends.
Okay.
On their hips. That hair just gets really scraggly, and you can trim that up. And their claws need to be clipped, and the hair around their paws and their bellies, a sanitary clip. Other than that, check their ears and just the regular bathing and brushing, and that's it. Because their coat is not supposed to be cut.
Okay.
Oh, really?
So,
okay. And what breeds might be high maintenance as far as grooming and require a lot more brushing? Just a high maintenance, which might not fit in for a very busy family.
But you're holding one right there. A Shih Tzu is a very high maintenance dog. They don't tell you when you buy one of these little cute little puppies and they're all furry that you have to get them cut once every month, or else you're going to be in big trouble.
Yes.
Now you could always go the show cut route, which is a very long coat.
Yes.
And that is a lot of maintenance right there.
Uh-huh.
A lot of maintenance.
Okay.
The Shih Tzu and then the Yorkshire Terrier.
Okay.
This is also a show cut on a Yorkie.
Okay.
But most people don't have time to take care of a coat that's this long.
Right.
So when I get the dogs, they usually don't look anything like this. They usually don't even look anything like Wicket. They are usually pretty messy, but most people choose on the long-haired breeds to just get them shaved down. And when you do that, like with Wicket, the bug-eyed type dogs, the hair doesn't need to get in the eyes, so that has to be taken care of once a month. And there's a lot that goes into owning a dog, and you know, if you're prepared to spare the expense and the time, then these are all wonderful breeds.
Okay.
Are there any special websites or books that a dog or cat owner could go to kind of learn more about how to take care of their animal at home? In other words, are there any sites that you would recommend or books that you'd recommend?
A wonderful, wonderful website that I go to all the time is akc.org. And it just gives so much information on any breed of dog that you can think of.
Okay.
There are wonderful links that that you can find almost any kind of information you need.
Okay.
And for our viewers, AKC stands for American Kennel Club, doesn't
Right.
it?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And are there any website or sources that you might recommend for tools? You know, maybe I want to order them rather, you know.
I'm not really sure unless you go to eBay. I think that
Oh, okay.
there's Ryan's Pet Supplies, I think. I'm not exactly sure what the website is, but
Doctors Foster and I think and
Yes,
Grant
Doctors
is also
Foster's.
another one that
You can find everything on eBay.
yes, yes, you can.
And since you've graciously volunteered to answer questions for our viewers about grooming, how could our groomers get in touch with you if they had a question about grooming?
Well, you can reach me at 618-524-8487. And if I can't be reached there, you could always call 618-638-5928.
Okay.
And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay.
Right. And that would be, we certainly do appreciate your volunteering your time to do this. Well, Greg, in our last minute, we have had an awful lot of good information about taking care of your cat and your dog.
And we'd like to thank you very much, Bethany, for taking time out of your busy day to give us some good tips and ideas.
Well, thank you for having me.
And we'd like to thank our two little friends here, Wicket and Maxwell.
And Maxwell, who've been really great on this show. And Max, don't worry, we're not giving you a haircut right now, so you don't have to worry. We also want to thank our viewers for joining us. We're so glad that you did. It's been a very interesting show, and we're so glad to give you this good information. So,
And one thing I'd like to remind our viewers, that if you have an animal that you would like to participate with in the Forget Me Not segment of ours,
that's right.
You can remember the rules are only that you make some contribution to an animal organization.
And the address is?
And the address is that you can contact us is 3734 Beyer, B-E-Y-E-R Lane, Paducah, 42001, telephone 270-443-8330 for any questions.
Sounds good. And as we end, Greg, I'm Darlene.
And I'm Greg, and we would like to remind our viewers, give your pet a little extra love today.
And grooming.
And grooming.
Today and every day.
Every day.
Bye.
See you next time.